How China's biggest scammer got caught. Let's go.
UK police have been hunting this woman for 7 years. They're after her. But mostly, they're after her computers.
Let's go.
Laptops that may hold the keys to unlocking the story of one of the biggest scams in Chinese history.
Whoa. 1,500
A cult
Bitcoin
of personality. Families torn apart. Marriages destroyed. Life savings gone forever.
Oh,
and at the center of it all, her.
The mastermind of a multi-billion-dollar Bitcoin fraud.
This is the story of an operation run from deep within a ghost city.
Uh-oh.
A daring escape, life in outrageous luxury, and dreams of ruling an entire country.
The country's crazy. How this woman became China's biggest scammer.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning in the Chinese province of Sichuan. For most people, the day begins like any other. But then the ground begins to rumble, and a 7-magnitude earthquake rocks the entire region. Almost 200 people are killed.
Damn.
More than 13,000 are injured. Across 18 prefectures,
I remember
hundreds
that was the earthquake like 2 or 3 years after the Hades earthquake. Yeah, I know that was bad too. That was terrible.
of thousands of homes are destroyed. News of the disaster quickly spreads around the world. Donations begin pouring in.
I remember
The
that.
Chinese charity One Foundation announces that it will also accept donations in Bitcoin. Within just 2 days, the organization receives a large number of Bitcoins, between 50 and 230, depending on the source.
And at that time, I know Bitcoin was like dog shit. Like it was dirt cheap. That shit was cheap as hell. At that shit, like now Bitcoin is around like 60,000. Yo, Bitcoin had to have been at least like 15K in 2013.
The weeks after the
Maybe
earthquake,
even lower.
Chinese state TV broadcast programs about the cryptocurrency. A program called The Mysterious Bitcoin explains what it is, how it works, and its meteoric rise in worth. China Central Television, or CCTV, also airs an interview with a man who claims he made a 6-figure fortune through Bitcoin trading.
This whole time I was thinking it was some behind the scenes shit.
He'll later become famous as China's first Bitcoin billionaire. Bitcoin has officially been around since 2009, but in China, most people are now hearing about it for the very first time.
True that.
Many are fascinated, and Bitcoin quickly starts gaining traction nationwide. China's main search engine, Baidu, begins accepting it as a payment method. Soon after, so does the online shopping platform Taobao. Later on in 2013, 2 new Bitcoin exchanges emerge. In the months that follow, more and more people in China start buying the cryptocurrency. This sudden surge in demand pushes the global price even higher. And all the hype will turn out to be extremely convenient for one woman in particular. This is Zhimin Qian. Her biography is difficult to piece together. A reconstruction is largely based on a detailed profile published by the Chinese magazine China Newsweek. Right now, it's early 2014. Zhimin Qian is 36 years old and lives here in Tianjin, a sprawling metropolis with more than 11 million residents. The city was supposed to keep growing. There were plans for new office towers, luxury apartments, and a bustling financial district. One neighborhood was even expected to become China's new Manhattan.
Oh shit.
But construction stalls. Many buildings are left unfinished, and parts of Tianjin look abandoned.
Like that's one place, like, you know, in your early teens, I mean, not early teens, your early 20s or 30s if you can. That's some spot that you would love to go to, like China. I would love to visit China at least once, bro. Yo, they like technology over there is probably like crazy different.
Start calling it a ghost city. Wages are low in China, and consumer prices are rising fast. In 2014, the country loosens its business registration rules to boost the economy. Entrepreneurs can now register their companies more quickly, and they need less startup capital. The reforms lead to a massive startup boom. Across China, thousands of businesses are registered every day. But Qian is already a step ahead of everyone else. About a year ago, she and a couple of business partners founded a company, UBS International Group Limited Hong Kong. At the time, instead of a real name, she uses an alias, Li Xia. The business has partnered with a company that produces and distributes camellia oil. People in East Asia have been using it for things like skin and hair care for centuries. This is what Qian's business strategy allegedly looks like. UBS promotes the camellia oil and advertises group tours to the partner company's camellia production sites. But to be able to actually buy the products, customers first need to purchase a membership. That costs 2,800 yuan.
Sheesh.
Members who recruit
How much is
others
that in
qualify
US
for
currency?
extra benefits. It seems Qian herself is rarely seen at the office. Day-to-day operations are reportedly handled by her employees. For a while, business seems to run smoothly. But in May 2013, the Camellia Oil Company ends the partnership. And about a month later, things get worse. The company website starts malfunctioning and third-party payment accounts are frozen.
Page.
A little later, Qian sends her employees a text message. "Don't worry, I'm collecting money for us." Then police raid the company's headquarters.
No.
But Qian is nowhere to be found. Since making her escape, Qian has been extremely cautious. She reportedly even avoids taking the bus to keep authorities from tracking her movements.
Damn.
Presumably, she'd have to show her ID when boarding public transportation. The UBS venture may have been little more than a way to experiment with different business strategies. She'll go on to use much of what she learned here in her later endeavors. And she already has a new idea. One that will forever change her life and the lives of countless others.
Damn.
Maybe you've had an idea recently. Not one that would change countless lives, or at least not one that would ruin any. But each time you want to get started on it, it just turns into a whole thing. Pick a platform, figure out the information, and make it look not terrible. So you sort of give up. We just launched Roots, our newsletter. We've got a talented team, a developer, an idea, and a platform. Most people don't, and that's kind of the point. Today's the day. Qian registers another company. Tianjin Lantian Gurei Electronic Technology.
Wait, so she started a first illegal business and it didn't work out. It got raided, and now she's gonna try to open up another legal business. Like, why won't she just do like everything legally? She probably thinks like, ain't no money in legal business. Why not do it illegally? They're fucking us anyway.
It's widely known as Lantian Gurei, which means blue sky. Qian seems to know exactly what she wants to sell, and to whom. China's home to roughly 200 million elderly people. About 1 in 6 citizens is over 60, and many of them are lonely. In the past, families often had several children. Siblings could share the responsibility of caring for their parents.
That's by far like the most like fucked up scam, bro. Like, yo, scamming the elderlies are probably like so fucked up, gang. Like the businesses, if you look towards like the businesses or like, you know, younger people, I don't feel too bad, but it's also like, damn, that's kind of crazy. But the elderly people, bro, they don't know anything, bro. Like, yo, scamming an elder, that's like the most heartbreaking shit to hear.
Grandparents. But in 1979, China introduced a one-child policy to help curb its rapid population growth. From that point forward, fewer children were born. Most parents had just one child, who often had to care for the family's older generations on their own. At the same time, more and more younger people left their hometowns to study or work in major cities. As a result, many elderly people were left to live alone.
Damn.
In
so
2013, the government responded by introducing a new law. Adult children are now legally required to visit their parents frequently and be attentive to their emotional needs. For Qian, elderly people are the perfect target.
Damn,
She seems to
that's
understand
so
exactly
fucked,
how to
bro.
exploit their loneliness and their anxieties. Step by step, she begins
That's
building
so
a
fucked.
manipulative business empire. Step 1. The front. Qian's company sells a range of health products. One is the Life Bracelet. It has an integrated GPS tracking chip, so whoever wears it can supposedly be located within 15 meters of their current position.
Okay.
In an emergency, an elderly person just has to
call
press the red
SOS.
button and an ambulance will be with them within 10 minutes.
Not bad.
The
For
product
that, I'm pretty
taps
sure they already
directly
have
into
that
one of
product,
older
but
people's biggest fears, being alone and helpless during a medical emergency.
yeah.
That helps build trust in Qian and her company. And if you trust a company with your health, you may eventually trust it with your savings too.
So,
Step 2. The plan. Qian isn't really trying to sell health products. To push
She's
her
not?
actual business model, she hires promoters all across China.
how would you do
Qian
that?
claims that Lantian Gurei is mining Bitcoin, that it's setting up high-powered Bitcoin mines all across China to generate more crypto units. And for that, she needs money.
Oh yeah.
Step
Need a lot of
3.
money for mining.
The promise. Qian is looking for investors. She probably uses WeChat to advertise and close deals.
Yeah.
Apparently, investors can choose from special financial
Is that a
packages.
chat before
These
WhatsApp?
reportedly range from 30,000 to 60,000 yuan, or roughly $4,200 to $8,400.
Okay.
The terms range from 12 to 30 months. Often, the funds aren't wired to Qian's firm directly. Instead, investors first transfer them to local promoters advertising the service, who then pass it on to Qian.
Gotcha.
In return, she promises them daily dividends and a 200 to 600% profit for each contract. Qian and her company seem to have been selling the idea of collective prosperity. Invest for just 3 years and you'll be able to secure the financial future of the next 3 generations of your family. Step 4. The scheme. Qian skillfully rides the wave of Bitcoin frenzy. It helps that many of her investors aren't very financially literate. Her company produces glossy promotional videos promising a life of wealth and luxury in the United Kingdom, a country
Those are other scams too, like them damn Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes, bro. MLS, whatever that shit is, those are terrible scams. That's probably like one of the worst for real.
carries a certain prestige in China.
一个属于光荣和梦想的国度。
On her
Avid
blog,
people.
Qian posts poems about social responsibility. We must love the elderly with the infatuation of a first romance. Poetry has always been an important part of Chinese traditional culture. Poems are meant to entertain and convey values like respect, family duty, and social order. Maybe that's why Qian's vision resonates with so many people. She also emphasizes that her company would help further China's goal of becoming a global leader in technology. She even claims that she'll one day donate the company to the Chinese
I'm
government.
telling you, bro, like
Her patriotic message lands with investors.
she's smart,
But
bro.
one investor will later claim she deliberately exploited the patriotism of older Chinese citizens.
She's really smart to think of
In reality-
shit like this.
She went much further than that.
Yeah.
It's
created
autumn in
an
Beijing.
empire.
More than 1,000 people have gathered here today. Many have already invested in Qian's company, Lantian Gure. Others are still considering it. But all of them are here to see the woman behind the business. So far, they know almost nothing about her, only that she reportedly holds a PhD in mathematics and cryptography.
Oh, yeah,
and
come on
that she
now.
works so hard she
She's a
barely has
genius.
time to sleep.
She's
Qian
a genius
rarely
that took
appears
the
in
red
public.
pill.
She almost exclusively communicates through the poems she posts on her blog. There are
crazy.
barely any photos of her, and in most of them, her face is partially concealed. Even today, she's wearing a veil.
Damn.
Nobody here knows her real name. Her investors call her Hua Hua, or Little Flower. Qian and
Wah wah. Wah.
enters
That's
in a
kinda
wheelchair.
strange.
Her investors lift her above their heads and carry her toward the stage. They're chanting the company's promise, 3 generations of wealth. Events like this happen regularly, usually inside large, prestigious halls. Attendants usually aren't allowed to bring their phones or take photos or video. Maybe because Qian wants to remain anonymous. After all,
Pretty fair.
she's been trying to stay under the radar ever since
She
fleeing
knows she's gonna
Hefei.
scam him.
The gatherings are massive. There are dance performances, presentations, and speeches praising and vouching for the company. One speaker is the son-in-law of Mao Zedong, the late founding father of the People's Republic.
Oh snap.
Mao remains a deeply respected figure in China, especially among older generations.
Oh snap.
The atmosphere at these promotional events is frenetic. One investor will later tell The Observer that people were captivated by Qian as soon as she opened her mouth. After her speeches, people would battle their way to the front with their credit cards ready.
Oh.
Another investor says, that bunch of promoters, they'd take something red and persuade you it was white, take something black and convince you it was red. Apparently, there were also private meetings with Qian. Those who invested more than $800,000 were reportedly invited to more intimate events. One attendee says everyone in the room was starstruck. They saw her as their goddess of wealth. Over
That's
time,
crazy.
more and more people pour money into Qian's growing business empire. Public servants, school teachers, widows, and retirees. They're all hoping crypto will turn their modest life savings into a fortune. Most are between 50. By 2017, Qian has attracted more than 128,000 investors across China
Damn.
and collected more than 40 billion yuan, roughly
snap.
$6.1 billion.
Sheesh.
But she hasn't been keeping her promise to use their money to create new crypto tokens in her mining farms. Back in 2014, she used an associate's name to open an account on the Huobi cryptocurrency exchange, which today is called HTX, and she transferred
That's still
investors'
up?
money into that account, exchanging it for Bitcoin. At first, her investors receive exactly what they were promised, daily dividends. Anyone who recruits friends or relatives gets even more. One investor would tell the BBC he and his wife were receiving 100 yuan a day, roughly $14.
Snap.
They were so hooked, they directly reinvested this into the company and kept borrowing to invest more on top of it. They didn't know that these payouts weren't actually coming from crypto profits. They were funded by
So she's basically like the Chinese Madoff. if you guys know who Madoff is, that's exactly what she is. But instead, I think she's just doing it with Bitcoin. I forgot how Madoff got caught up, but I'm pretty sure it's around the same thing. With the whole Ponzi scheme and, having people borrow money and using that money for other expenses and stuff like that. That's what she basically is doing.
By new investors. It was a classic Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
And it only worked as long as new investors kept pouring in new money.
Literally.
One investor would later say he never suspected a thing. After a few years of this, some investors were invited to visit the company's Bitcoin mines. And the trip inspired some of them to invest even more money.
Oh, snap.
Hundreds of investors have traveled from Shenyang and other cities to Tianjin. The outskirts of the city are lined with warehouse after warehouse.
Wait,
one was built on a vacant lot. On the front is the slogan, Tianjin Blue Sky Gure Bitcoin Warehouse. This must be it. But when the investors go inside, none of the mining machines are working. An employee tells them the company intentionally turned them off to avoid exposing them to radiation. Most of the investors don't question the explanation.
They don't know.
One even leaves the site visit so convinced she decides to invest significantly more money.
Idiots.
It's only years later that some investors begin to suspect the machines they saw were actually worthless junk. According to reports, they were eventually sold as scrap for 30 yuan apiece. For 3 years, Qian's operation appears to run smoothly. New investors keep joining, and their money funds payouts for existing members. But in 2017, Chinese authorities finally get suspicious and launch an investigation.
After 4 or 5 years?
The Bitcoin hype is reaching fever pitch, at least among the Chinese public. By now, the country has become one of the largest cryptocurrency markets in the world. But Bitcoin and other digital currencies are also used for criminal activities like money laundering, drug trafficking, and smuggling. They're a risk to financial stability, and they undermine government control over the fiscal system. So Chinese authorities want to crack down on them. They plan to tighten control over Bitcoin mining and trading. From there, they start closing in on Qian's company. Today, the authorities strike a coordinated blow. Raids take place across Tianjin. Lan Tiangure's employees are rounded up, but there's no trace of their boss.
She's gone.
Qian has likely been preparing her escape for months. She purchased several forged passports, including one from a Caribbean microstate, and is traveling under a new alias, Yadi Zhang. She also transferred her bitcoins from the Huobi exchange into several private crypto wallets. The wallets are stored locally on her laptop. But as with any cryptocurrency, they don't contain the actual bitcoins, just the digital keys needed to prove ownership and access them. At this point, Qian's wallets hold about 70,000 bitcoins. At the time, they're worth almost $400 million. It remains unclear whether Qian knew the raid was coming, and if she did, who might have tipped her off. Maybe she bribed a corrupt official. Either way, she's on the run for several months, apparently moving from China to Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, and Malaysia. According to London's Metropolitan Police, she eventually boards a first-class flight from Kuala Lumpur to London. On September 16, 2017, she arrives at Heathrow Airport. She isn't carrying any luggage or her laptop. She moves into a mansion in London's affluent Hampstead neighborhood. The rent is more than £17,000 a month. She also opens an account with Harrods, one of the world's most exclusive department stores. Over the following months, she spends more than 90...
she's already fucked up already, gang. Once she start opening up different stuff under that name, and because all that is on paper, bro. I know Chanel has that now, where you go to Chanel and if you spend a shit ton of money, that gets reported. So automatically, she's already fucking herself over, bro. What is she doing? Yo, $9,000 on Valentino is crazy.
£1,000 on designer jewelry and clothing. She travels across Europe too, but she carefully avoids countries that have extradition treaties with China. She keeps attracting people and getting them to break the law for her. Just a few weeks after arriving in London, Qian meets a woman named Zhan Wen. Wen is 37 and works at a Chinese takeaway. The two get along well. Before long, Wen moves into Qian's mansion. Officially, she's Qian's caretaker. In reality, she also becomes her trusted accomplice. For example, Qian sends her to Thailand to retrieve the laptop she abandoned on her way to the UK. Once Qian can access her bitcoins again, the two start spending some serious money.
They would just message about going to buy jewelry, right? we've had a stressful day. They didn't really say that, but like, once we're done with this, let's cash out the Bitcoin, let's go to Jewelry Street, right? And then the other message was like, obsessed with jewelry.
This is Aisha Down, a journalist with The Guardian. She investigated the story. Wen will later tell the courts that Qian spent most of her time in bed, playing video games and shopping online.
Oh, shit.
As Bitcoin's value keeps rocketing, she seems to be achieving what she once promised her clients, getting rich lying down. She isn't afraid to dream big either. In her diary, she documents her bold plans for the years to come.
That's so fun.
Qian wants to found her own bank,
That's
buy a
awesome.
castle in Sweden, and build a relationship with a British duke.
Oh,
She also
snap.
dreams of becoming Queen of Liberland, a small stretch of land between Croatia and Serbia right along the Danube River.
Liberland.
The territory isn't officially recognized as a micronation, but its inhabitants consider it an independent republic with democratic elections. Qian has ambitious plans for the 7-square-kilometer region. She wants to build a harbor, an airport, and the world's
See, that's when you start doing too much, bro. Like, yo, like, gang, you're just supposed to take the money and go to some place that nobody knows, nobody know where you at, and just do what you got to do. I mean, I'm not advertising this, but yo, if you were to try to get away with this, this is definitely not the take that you'll, get away with. Freaking building a damn castle.
largest Buddhist temple. In Liberland,
No,
Qian would
bro.
find herself among like-minded people. Its self-proclaimed prime minister is the controversial crypto billionaire Justin Sun, who founded his own blockchain network. He also controls the Huobi crypto exchange, where Qian used to store her bitcoins. In her imagination, becoming a monarch will entitle her to a diplomatic passport and immunity from prosecution. She even sets aside a budget of £5 million to buy herself a crown and scepter.
Oh,
The sky's the
she
limit.
must think-
She also dreams of the Dalai Lama anointing her a reincarnated goddess.
What?
But
She
for
had
now,
one
Qian
fairy
is still
tale.
here in London, living in a rented house. Among other things, she claims to run a successful jewelry business. To fund her lifestyle, she converts bitcoins to regular currency, but large deposits would probably make her bank suspicious.
Definitely.
So she has to conceal where the money really comes from.
Okay.
In other words, she needs to launder it.
For sure.
And one of the oldest tricks in the book is real estate. So she plans to buy expensive properties to turn her dirty money into seemingly legitimate assets. Qian and Wen start looking for the right London luxury home.
But then, like, I always wondered, like, don't they get in depth, like, yo, how are you able to purchase these homes? Like, I don't know, like, how are you able to purchase these homes if you're saying that that's a sort of income? Like, you would need a sort of income to purchase the homes. I don't know. I might just be messed up in the head, and I probably don't know. Y'all let that down in the comment section, bro. I really don't know how.
They make 3 attempts to buy multi-million-pound properties. The most expensive is listed at $23.5 million. But their efforts are hampered by their difficulties converting enough
She didn't
bitcoins into
even start
cash,
small by, like,
and
you
by
know,
British anti-money
a
laundering
duplex
regulations
or
and their
a
so-called
fourplex.
know
She
your
went
customer
big.
questions.
Oh, snap.
Questions like these are designed to detect money laundering schemes. The first round of scrutiny often comes from the real estate agent, the second from the bank. Apparently, Wen's answers to these questions are unconvincing, and realtors and lawyers reject her bids to buy the properties.
Yo. Yeah. Makes sense.
Shortly after, London's Metropolitan Police are tipped off about a suspicious bank account. The money in it is believed to come from criminal activity.
Yep. That's
The
how they
officers
get you.
decide to take a closer look. Once they have the necessary court orders, they gain access to the account, and their suspicion grows. With reasonable grounds to suspect that the money is dirty, they freeze the account.
Yo, that's like
They also
so-
send an email to the account holder. It's Wen. By now, investigators are closing in on her. They know where she lives. They're just waiting for a search warrant.
Yeah.
When they finally enter the house, they find 2 people, Wen and an unknown woman. Lying in bed, she claims her name is Yeri Zhang. The officers have no idea who
Wait,
they're
is
really
that her?
talking to.
So you don't normally live here?
Yeah.
And where are you from? Where is your country?
I think they believed that she was a sick relative and not the mastermind of a multi-billion-dollar.
Yo, you would think she's like the sweetest Chinese lady. Like, who would actually think that this lady just laying down is the crime lord of this fraudulent scheme? Like, I would never think
Bitcoin
that.
fraud.
As they raid the
Especially
house,
police
the
officers.
officers find £300,000 in cash and
snap.
checks. They also seize laptops, memory cards, and a large amount of paperwork. But for the time being, neither of the women is arrested. The police search the confiscated computers and find that they contain several crypto wallets. But accessing the wallets and the cryptocurrency they contain requires the correct encryption keys.
Yeah, that's
In the
thing
course
about
of their
Bitcoin.
investigation, the Metropolitan Police eventually obtain them. They find over 71,000 bitcoins stored in 7 wallets. It's the largest Bitcoin seizure in British history, but it isn't Qian's entire fortune. In August 20,
How did they get the keys for the wallets though? Like, unless they told them, because it's damn near impossible to get
2020,
those.
police return to her house for a second raid, but this time she isn't there. She's gone missing again.
When was the last time you spoke to her?
A few months.
If she had been here today, I would have arrested her.
This time, there's just Wen. The investigation takes its course, and 2 years later, she's arrested and charged with money laundering. In 2024, she's sentenced to 6 years and 8 months in prison.
Damn.
After parting ways with Wen, the fugitive Qian moves into an inconspicuous townhouse in York. Several employees work for her illegally, taking care of her everyday needs. Everyone in the house has to follow a strict set of rules. The staff isn't allowed to use Bluetooth or phones from Chinese brands. They're limited to only certain social media platforms. They can't disclose the house's address or even log into its Wi-Fi network. And they're strictly forbidden from taking photos or videos of Qian.
Oh yeah, those are strict house rules for sure. You tell me I can't turn on my Bluetooth to turn on my headphones? That's messed up.
All these requirements are neatly laid out in confidentiality agreements later obtained by the Metropolitan Police.
Shit.
Anyone who breaks the rules
Some
faces
money.
hefty financial penalties and will be fired on the spot. At some point, Qian also seeks the help of a Malaysian national named Seng Hock Ling. According to Ling himself, the two first met in Germany in 2019. He'll later testify he believed Qian was a legitimate businesswoman. But Qian plans to use him to once again launder money. British authorities have seized most of her bitcoins, but she still controls other crypto wallets worth around £62 million.
God dang.
She gives Ling money to purchase properties in Dubai in her behalf. But Ling is closely following Wen's criminal trial. By now, he knows that both women have been involved in criminal activity, and maybe he's beginning to realize that he's much more involved in their schemes than he'd like. One day, he starts Googling
Let's just continue.
February 2024. For 6 years, Metropolitan Police investigators have been monitoring Qian's crypto wallets. The bitcoins inside them are now worth roughly £1.5 billion.
Sheesh.
In all these years, there hasn't been a single transaction, no indication that Qian has touched her fortune. Until now. She just transferred 8.2 bitcoins to another exchange account. The account is registered in Ling's name, and the investigators embark on a manhunt. They want to know whether Ling and Qian are in touch. The trail leads them to Scotland and northern England. Then one day, Qian suddenly appears on surveillance cameras. By now, they're convinced Ling is working for her. They could move in right now, but there can't be any loose ends this time. They need airtight proof that Qian's bitcoins are tied directly to the fraud case in China. They want to know for sure where exactly the bitcoins came from. A blockchain specialist helps them follow the money through its transaction history to see who received the bitcoins when. Chinese authorities provide them with a list of bank accounts connected to the scam. The investors Qian deceived are said to have deposited money into 294 different Chinese
How do
bank
you even
accounts.
get 294
They've received payouts from 48 different accounts. With that information, investigators re-examine the electronic devices they seized in their first raid. And voila, many of the account numbers provided by the Chinese authorities also appear on the confiscated laptops. Now the connection is clear, and Qian is directly linked to the fraud in China. At last, a judge gives the Metropolitan Police the green light.
No. Coming at that
Qian
door.
hears something. There's someone inside the house.
24.
Moments later, someone kicks in the door to her room. After 7 years on the run, they
Wait, did he just kick the door in and ask who you are? Like you don't know like who I am inside of my own house? That's crazy.
finally found her.
You're under arrest. You're going to be arrested for money laundering, Section 329, Proceeds of Crime Act.
And this time, there's nowhere left to go. Qian and Ling's trial ends today. The hearing is public, but the courtroom is so small that only a handful of people fit inside.
I sat
How
on the
much
floor
do you
at
think
one
she's
point.
gonna
There wasn't
get?
a lot of room.
Aisha is one of the few journalists in the room. She followed the last days of the trial for The Guardian.
It was just a fairly sober atmosphere.
Qian sits inside a glass dock. From the public gallery, it's difficult to get a good look at her. Throughout the proceedings, she doesn't say a word. Everything she wants to say, she communicates through her lawyer. She remained largely silent when the police questioned her, too. Her only statement was that she was the victim of false allegations made by the Chinese authorities. She also felt that she would die soon, and that this had been her last chance to spend some money.
The thing I noticed was that the defense's statements really didn't land at all. And the defense sort of spoke briefly in the last day of the proceedings, talking about how their client had been a model prisoner.
Qian's lawyer later claims that she and her company only ever wanted to help people accumulate wealth. But the reality is different. Some of her investors ended up in poverty. One tells the BBC that he sometimes had so little money left he would have to survive on a single pack of instant noodles for 15 days. Another says Qian's scheme destroyed his marriage and led to him being estranged from his son. Others say they contemplated suicide. Ling is sentenced to 4 years and 11 months in prison. Qian gets 11 years and 8 months.
It seemed like, from my impression of her, that she maybe had hoped things would go a little differently. She burst into tears, or it looked like she was bursting into tears. It looked like she was upset by the verdict.
After the ruling, Qian's lawyer emails a statement to the press.
Okay, I might sound like selfish to say, but 11 years, gang. 11 years in this time is kind of like light work, to be honest. For a $1 billion Bitcoin scheme, 11 years is really not that bad. No, I might not to say that it's something that that's really not that bad. But she is kind of on the older side, so she's 11 years. I don't think she probably is thinking that she's gonna be able to make it in 11 years.
Yes.
Good behavior. She'll be out in like 5 or 6, right?
Bitcoin pioneer Ms. Qian, once the world's largest female BTC holder, accepts her conviction and the mistakes that led to it. Many of her former investors feel betrayed, and some demand compensation. In China, some investors appeal to the Supreme People's Court, the State Council, and other national institutions, not to condemn Qian's actions, but to ask for an explanation as to why her company was shut down. One still sees Qian as the goddess of the crypto world. He would die for her, and he wishes she'd return. We tried to speak to some of the investors for this video, but almost everyone we contacted turned down our interview requests. Only one woman agreed to talk, but she had a condition. We had to promise that we'd help her get her money back.
That's fries.
Apparently, a few people did. This article says Chinese authorities used confiscated assets from Qian's company to compensate some former investors. They received a small percentage of the money they put in. But it remains unclear whether all the victims in China will ever recover their investments.
Yeah, that's the thing.
First, they have to prove that they actually invested in Qian's company. And that may be difficult since many deposits weren't sent directly to her, but to the accounts of local promoters operating on her behalf. For now, the seized assets remain frozen in the UK. British law classifies them as recoverable amounts, meaning authorities must first determine whether victims are really entitled to compensation. Only then can the state touch the money. Decisions on the applications are expected later on in 2026. Who knows? Maybe some of Qian's investors will get rich after all.
Brother. No, that's a terrible way to go out, to be honest with you.